So so what I want to let's look at these, like the proper place to light. It's such a big machlokas actually as to where you're supposed to light, and we'll see why and how that pans itself out. So here, so the Gemara in Shabbos tells us very simply, Tana Rabbanan, we learned in a brisa, Ner Chanukkah mitzvah la'anicha al Pesach beito mibachutz. Where's the mitzvah? The mitzvah to put the Ner Chanukkah is al Petach beito mibachutz, at the entrance to one's house on the outside. Okay, the entrance to one's house on the outside. Rashi says on the outside, Mishim Persumenisa. Why do you have to put it on the outside? Because there's a value within the Chanukkah candles that is Persumenisa, the advertising of the miracle. But it mustn't be in the Rishut HaRabim. But it must be in the courtyard, so the people will see it. Because in the old days, their houses were opened up into a courtyard. There was like this general courtyard, and then there was the Rishut HaRabim. If you learned Eruvin, you'd see how you understand a little bit more. But that's basically how it would work. There was this courtyard, and it would have like a little a single entrance coming in. I mean, even now, if you go to Israel, even if you go to Europe, you go to all different places where they live in courtyards. You can see there's like all these houses, and then there's this one single entrance, and they come out. So Tosfos says a little bit different. He says, yeah, we're talking about a case where it's a house which is directly onto the Rosh Hashanah, but he says if there's a courtyard, there's no value in lighting it into the courtyard. You must light it on the outside into the public domain in order for the people to see. So therefore, as he says here, that Rashi seems to be pointing out that the connection must be to the house, whereas Tosfos is saying the connection must be specifically out so that the public people in the public can see it, and that the Pirsumei Nisa goes out. And the Shulchan Aruch says one should place the Chanukkah candles at the entrance adjacent to the public domain. Samach l'Rishut HaRabim, right? So if the house opens to a public domain, place it at the entrance. And then if there's a chatzer, if there's a courtyard in front of the house, he should place it at the entrance of the courtyard. So therefore, that's the Shulchan Aruch is saying we should put it on the outside. But what we keep bringing up is this idea of the outside. So who's this outside supposed to be for? So it's got to be obviously for the people that are walking past. That's the Pirsumei Nisa. Now, the thing is that the Pischei Tshuva says, he quotes from the Chazon Ish, that in our times the courtyard is only used as a thoroughfare, as a garden. It's not used for house purposes like in the times of the sages. And if you look at the entrance to the courtyard, it's not noticeable. Therefore, you must light the entrance of the house into the courtyard. Then he goes through the whole stuff about from different things about how this. But the Chazon Ish said one should not light at the entrance of the house in the second paragraph unless the candles can be seen by the passerbys in the street, because that's the interest of Shura. It's got to be seen by the passerby in the street. But now this is a big one. If the yard is concealed on all sides and the passerbys can't see into it, the Chazon Ish agrees that you should not light the entrance to the house, but rather in a window that faces the public domain. So we do a bit of a hybrid of all of those things. The the Jewish have got this Jewish this daily Mishnah Berurah. So they've got different notes in it, and one of their notes says the following: Rav Shlomo Zalman Auerbach held that there's no distinction between the courtyard of the days of the Gemara and the yards of today with regard to the Lord of Chanukkah. And so Rav Eliashiv said the same thing. Even a garden in front of one's house is the states of a courtyard and one's light at the entrance to it. So what we're seeing is that where should we really be lighting our Chanukkah candles? We shouldn't be lighting our Chanukkah candles where we do, kind of like in the window by the kitchen, which might look out some obscure way onto the Rishut HaRabim, onto the entrance. But if you've got a big wall and you light it in your kitchen window, then it doesn't really make a difference, or it doesn't really help in terms of the Pirsumei Nisa, because nobody can see it. So therefore, one should really be lighting that at the entrance. Obviously, you hope and you have to put it into a secure place that your Chanukkah doesn't get stolen. But nonetheless, that would seem to be the appropriate place to be lighting it, is outside, not inside, as we do on our windowsills. Okay, so none of us are residents of apartment buildings, so I don't want to look at that right now. Just going to go down a bit. Okay, so what about we just said that lighting inside seems to be not the correct way of lighting it. So where does it get from? Where do we get it from that we light inside? So the Gemara in Shabbos says that that the Shulchan Aruch goes to where all different places where you're supposed to light it. It says in the time of a sakana, the time of danger, that you should just put it on your shulchan and that's on your table. That's enough. Why is it enough? It's enough because at least there'll be some type of presumenissa, some type of publicizing the miracle to at least to the family. Sorry, I lost the place. Give me 1 sec. I think I lost the place. Sorry. Okay, so now the Tur quotes that, and he says in times of danger, that you fulfill the mitzvah on your own table, and it's sufficient. So the question is, what is this danger issue? So the Or Zarua, I mean, all the Rishonim discuss it, but he explains what danger is. So he says the following: in times of danger, the Persian law was that you couldn't light candles. The way that Parsim they had this chag. It was a chag of lights, but you were only allowed to light inside their temples. That's the only place you were allowed to light. So, because you couldn't light inside your own home, because where the people could see the light, because there was a danger. So therefore, it was okay to light it on your table. But in our times, it says where there's no danger. I don't know the reason why we do not light in the courtyards. So that's fascinating, because why would we not? So we might say because we're worried about theft. So we can, but that's not danger. Theft is not danger. Theft is theft. Someone might steal the Chanukkah, so you have to create a place. In our house in Cape Town, we used to have I built a window in the wall so that we could light our Chanukkah candles where you'd be able to see from the outside, because that's the right way to do it. But we need to remember that there's very little, at least where we're up to here, that what's the value of lighting it inside if it's supposed to be for Pirsum and Nisa. So the Shibur Aleket says the following. He says, in times of danger, you place the candles on one table, and that is sufficient. The Baal HaDibrot, the Baal HaItzur, he's one of the great Rishonim. He wrote that during the time of danger, they continued, after they became accustomed to light, during the time of day, they continued the custom. But one who can place it outside should place it outside. If not, you can put it on your table. So therefore, it's clear that according to the Shibur Aleket, that one should light outside, not only inside. And then the Shulchan Aruch mentions that it's an acceptable custom in the case of danger, and they continue like that. So if you look at the Ramah over here, he says, we all light inside nowadays. There's no distinction for people in the public domain at all. You should not worry too much if you don't light in the handbreadth closer to the entrance. In any case, the custom is to light in the handbreadth like for our ancestors' days. One should not deviate unless there are too many household members, in which case everyone should light in a separate place rather than mixing the lights together. He's now talking about the fact is everybody's going to light, and if you only have a small place, then you're not going to be able to notice that all the different candles. So everybody should light in their own different place, because as long as you can see it. So if you have a window that faces the public domain, then light there, obviously, but it should face the public domain. If not, then it seems to be that we just have this idea that we're going to continue to light on the tables. I always have found it very difficult that we light on the table at home. And here he says, the Magen Avraham states that if one has a window facing the public domain, you should place it there. The Levush explains that publicizing of the miracle is preferred over the reason of entering between two mitzvahs. So the Shulchan Aruch says that the the ideal place to light it is on the right-hand side of the entrance. Sorry, the left-hand side of the entrance. So the right-hand side is the mezuzah, the left-hand side is the Chanukkah candles, and you're surrounded by mitzvahs. But here he says, most importantly, that's just like a custom. Most importantly, really, is to light it in a place where other people can see, and that's why it's quotes from the Igros Moshe. This is how I'm accustomed, lighting a candle in the window where it can be seen by a passerby. Unfortunately, we live in a place where if you do that, it's going to get stolen without the proper protection, but that's just the way life is. Okay, so we light it inside. Then this is lighting in above 20 cubits, which is the issue if you live in an apartment. None of us do, so I'm going to leave that out for the moment. The question is now, what's the proper time for lighting? Because that is quite a big issue, because there's how early can we light it and how late can we light it, and what's the ideal time to actually light it. The Gemara says, Mitzvata mishitishka chama. The best way is to do it from the time that the sun sets, ad shetchale regel min hashuk, from until such time as there's no more legs in the marketplace. The Tosfos says that yesh lizaher hadlik balayla miyad shelo yacher yoter midah. You should do it immediately as it becomes dark, so that you don't do it too late. And then the question is it, and that's what the Ran is speaking about, is it sunset or is it actual nightfall when you see the stars? Let's move on to that. The Shulchan Aruch says, right, one should not light Chanukkah candles before the sun sets, rather at nightfall. One must not light later or before that. It's very clear that that's your time. And many others hold that you should say, like the Vilna Gaon holds that it should be around sunset. The Mishnah Berurah says other things. So it becomes quite an interesting thing. Sorry, I lost the place here. I don't know what's doing this. The Mishnah Berurah says many Rishonim hold the intention of the Gemara is for the beginning of the second sunset, which is about a quarter of an hour. So the Bir Rocha explains that those who have the custom to recite Ma'ariv at the proper time after nightfall should light candles beforehand. This is the ruling of Rav Yaakov Emden. This was the custom of the Gra. But you have to make sure that you put in enough oil to last for half an hour after nightfall. That half an hour is an important time. It's not a half an hour of the lighting of the candles. It's a half an hour after nightfall. So therefore, on Shabbos, as we know, we light bigger candles so that it stands for half an hour after nightfall. But if we're going to light our normal candles just before, like at Shkia time, at sunset, then they're not long enough, those little candles, those colored ones that you get in the box. It has to be that they last half an hour after nightfall itself. And that's what we should be careful to do. So it's clear that that one should prepare everything before candle lighting time, so that when it comes to lighting the candle, then you can light immediately afterwards. So he says here that according to the Mishnah Berurah, one would recite Ma'ariv first, then light candles, but ideally prepare the candles in advance before Ma'ariv. The opinion of Rav Ovadia Yosef held, followed by many Sfaradim, is to recite Ma'ariv after Shkia. Then you go home to light the candles at nightfall, which is generally what we do anyway, because we daven Ma'ariv earlier. So we don't have to worry about the time-wise. Is that we should daven Ma'ariv, go home and light the candles as soon as possible. But I did see, and this is a very important part, is that it's most important is the Pirsumei Nisa. So if you're only on your own and your family's only coming a little bit later for whatever reason, I don't know, they went to swimming or they whatever, and they're only going to come a little bit later than nightfall, one should wait a little bit and rather do it in where everybody's there than doing it where only one or two people are there, because of the Pirsumei Nisa, because we're lighting inside rather than outside. Okay, what's the latest time? So the latest time, we said, according to the Gemara, that it's Asher Techale Rega Min Hashuk, that the latest time is when there's nobody left in the marketplace. But we'll see how this is going to pan out. So says the Gemara says, what do you mean from that mitzvah is lighting until the marketplace ceases. Is it that if the light is extinguished, you must rekindle it? The Gemara says, no, you don't have to otherwise. But rather, if one did not yet light, at sunset, you can still light until the traffic ceases in the marketplace. Alternatively, one could say that it's referring to the matter of its measure. One must prepare a wick and oil sufficient to burn for a period lasting from sunset until traffic ceases, but that's not how we paskin. We paskin the half an hour. So the Shulchan Aruch says, if you do not light at sunset, for whatever reason, you can still light until people start passing through the marketplace, which is about half an hour after sunset. In those days, it was half an hour after sunset. After nightfall. But nowadays, we don't have that issue because people are walking around all the time, number one. Especially as holidays begin, and if you're in a holiday place, people are walking all around all the time. People are running late at night, whatever the case is. So we don't really have that real issue, but the poskim do say that ideally one should still light in that way. But the Ramah says the following: there are those who say nowadays when people light indoors, there's no need to be careful to light before people stop passing the marketplace, because people are inside anyway. So as long as you've got people that you can engage with and share the miracle with, then it would be okay. He quotes here on this little note. He says here, the condition that others must see the candles of one lighting is mentioned by the Mishnah Berurah. If everyone else is asleep, then he says one should light without a bracha. Although this is the most acceptable, others approach it with the poskim as well. So his thing is that if you're lighting it all on your own, you're not going to be Persuma Nisa. If there's not going to be Persuma Nisa, then you have lost a certain aspect of the lighting of Chanukkah candles. Since you've lost a certain aspect of the lighting of the Chanukkah candles, therefore, you can't make the bracha. That's according to the Mishnah Berurah. So one should really make sure that somebody's. I know there is a story about Reb Chaim Soloveitchik, who once, for whatever reason, he lived very late, and he went and he woke up his family so that they could come and see what was going on. So the earliest time for lighting the candles, we'll just do this and we'll finish. The earliest time for lighting the candles is what we call Plaga Mincha. The Rambam says you can't light Hanukkah candles before sunset. Okay? But what is important is that we can't light at sunset because of Erev Shabbos. Erev Shabbos is a unique situation where we light 18 minutes before sunset as a usual thing, but we can't light at sunset because sunset Shabbos is in. So you've got to light before sunset. So the question is, how early can you light before sunset? And that's something that we need to remember, because we are, especially, let's say, I think because Chanukkah is so earlier this year, not many of us are at the coast. But when you get to the coast in the Cape Town or Plet, and it's much, much later, so you can be bringing in Shabbos at like 7 o'clock, but sunset is like 8ish, and nightfall is 8:30 or 8:45. So you have to make sure that those candles last at least for half an hour again into that nightfall. So obviously you got to put more oil in, or you got to use longer candles, whatever the case is. But the earliest time that you can light, there's an opinion that states that if one is busy, one may light earlier from Plag HaMincha. So Plag HaMincha is an early time. It's like an hour and a half before sunset. In Cape Town, I know where they bring Shabbos in, the communities bring Shabbos in as early as they possibly can, because otherwise it's just too late. So the earliest in December that you can light candles is 6:30. That's Plag HaMincha. So since that's the earliest you can light, but the sun only drops at around, as I said, about 8:30. So you've got to make sure that your candles last for all that length of time, and that becomes quite complicated because you have to use specific candles, and do you light them? Can you light them inside if you're in a hotel or you're somebody else's house? Is it permissible for you to light candles like that if you're not going to be there? I mean, those are all questions that have to be asked. Generally the easiest thing to use is what do you call them? Tea lights, because tea lights last very long, and they're generally safe, and one would put them onto a plate or whatever. You remember, you don't have to have a Chanukkah. It's good enough just to have the candles in a row. Especially this year, there's only, Shabbos is only tomorrow night, it's the second night of Hanukkah. So one wouldn't really have to worry too much about having a big Chanukkah. You can just have that the tea lights. Okay, let's stop there, guys, if you don't mind. I think we've done quite a lot. Any questions on Hanukkah before we start?
Yeah, quick question from our side. I mean, I understand the different views of where one should place, and the idea is to publicize the miracle. But in the South African context, where where do you actually recommend we put the Chanukkah in our houses?
So the question is twofold. If you have a window that can be where the lights can be seen from the public domain, that's where you should light it from. So
you put it inside your house, but hopefully somewhere where if somebody's walking in the street,
but if you don't, like, I'm just like thinking of a house that's, let's say most of our houses have these big walls so that you can't actually see out.
Yeah.
Right. So if that's the case, then one you can just put it on your table. You can put it on a table or on a sideboard where people are going to be in the house. That's how we you can put it on the windowsill by the kitchen, but that doesn't need, if there's no light projecting out into the public domain itself, then it's probably better to bring it more inside, say like on a windowsill, just so that you can enjoy the candles internally within the family. So if that would seem to be the best thing, is enjoying it inside rather than putting it in a place where you're not going to be able to see them, because you're trying to get someone to get a peep of it, even though the wall is too big that people can't see it. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah, 100%. Okay,
makes
cool.
sense. Okay, lekker, guys. Have a good holiday. We're not going to learn again until next year, please God, and we'll start again when school starts.